I think for young generation, sources of history are various. One is that students read in so-called Pakistani studies textbooks, which are mostly pack of lies, mostly. Then, other than that, you have biographies. But interestingly, most of the biographies that we have are from civil and military bureaucrats. And those biographies, through those biographies, they autobiographies, they try to whitewash their own past. And like Ruedat Khan's biography and Lieutenant General so and so's biography, in those biographies, they on and off, after every few pages, they say, I mentioned this, I tried to stop this, but they wouldn't listen to me. This was happening in 1971, this was happening, and I was Lieutenant General, and I told Yahya Khan not to do it, but he wouldn't listen. But I continued in my job. So that is, through these autobiographies, for young generation, it becomes very difficult who to believe and who not to believe. Then the third source is, as journalists write columns, their collection of columns, and probably the most authentic is alternative voices. So through these interviews from Zahid Saab's book, what we see, it contains interviews from politicians who were very active at that time. And in the words of, for example, Bisinjo's interview, Zahid Saab, in the introduction to Ghauss Bisinjo's interview, he quotes Selig Harrison, who said that about Ghauss Bisinjo, that he was perhaps one of the ablest or most able politicians in Pakistan, and he should have had a place in Islamabad to make decisions. I mean, this is a comment coming from Selig Harrison that shows that. And then other interviews like interview with Bacha Khan, interview with Wali Khan, interview with Bisinjo, interview with so many other people on both sides, center left and center right. So when we read these interviews, we get to know what alternative voices were there. And when we look at the mess that Pakistan is in right now, and some people say that we don't know and we don't understand what happened to this country, you read these interviews and you see that there were politicians who were pointing out the right direction and who were telling the powers that be not to do this or that, but they wouldn't listen. And 1980s is probably the best example in which Pakistan was being thrown into that Afghan war, and people like Bisinjo and Wali Khan and Bacha Khan and others, they were clearly saying and indicating that don't throw Pakistan into that. This will ultimately burn Pakistan itself. But the powers that be wouldn't listen.